Hey, how's it going? It's Joe. Welcome back to the shop. Hey, got my final little down feed bit here from Mr. Brown today. And what I plan on doing is putting that right here so that when my gearbox is in neutral, I got a manual feed thing going on. What I plan on doing at first here, because I don't want to modify the end of the spindle pinion coming out of this thing, is I'm going to make a piece of shafting that goes over the end of this and then has a bolt going through that, will hold it in there like this. There's also a cross drilled hole in here for the spring, and I'm going to utilize that as well. I'm going to cut a slot in the end of our shaft to fit over that. So that'll lock it on here. And I'll figure out how far out I want this to be comfortable, and then I'll build a shaft for it. First, what I'm going to do here first of all is just drill a 3/4 inch hole through this thing, and we'll see how that works out, as far as, being able to work it. I have the option of putting a handle in here, and if that happens, what I'll do is I'll cut one of those clutch faces, just like I did on the other side here, and I'll rig it up so that I can pull it off the shaft and turn it and push it back in. So that's the plan. This is a 10-inch aluminum offset hand wheel that I got off of Amazon, where else, for 17 bucks. I mean, you couldn't build something like this for 17 bucks. I can't remember the name of it, but it's pretty nice. I mean, it's not, polished up or anything. What I'll do is I'll put this hub in the forejaw and I'll center it on this rim radially and axially, and then I'll bore the hole in here, and it shouldn't be really too hard. I mean, it's going to basically be sitting just like that. So alright, let's get on with this. Okay, I got this thing centered up as good as it's going to be. It's about 30 thousandths in the axial plane and about 40 thousandths in the radial plane, and that's, I guess, as good as a rough casting is going to get. So I'm just going to run a couple of taper shank drills up in it, and this is 23/32, and then I'll run a chucking reamer up there to make her nice and happy. Camera's in the way. Okay. .450 on the speed for now. Seems pretty reasonable. See how it spins. That doesn't look too horrible. So we'll eventually be broaching a keyway into this thing. out there, but we're at it. That was hanging out there pretty far. So throw in the other bit, we'll slow it down. You get the maximum, well, okay. Okay, slow this baby down to, let's see how 200 looks. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Okay, we'll just throw the chucking reamer in the tailstock chuck and run it up the bore here, and we should be ready to broach it. Alright, so I'm just going to run this reamer up there. I got it set to 60 RPM. It's a 3/4 inch reamer. I got a little WD on there, so we should be good to go. Okay, we're coming to the end here. Okay. Here's the other 32nd of an inch. Alright. We get it set up to broach a keyway in. Alright. What I did off camera was to polish the outside rim of this wheel with file and a little sandpaper. I chamfered the hole, and then I put a 3/16 keyway through it. So this is pretty much done right now. What we got to do is build a little shaft that comes out of here that'll hook up to this thing. Okay, so here's where we are so far. You guys have seen me do this a million times, so I didn't figure you'd want to watch it again, but basically we bored out the pulley, broached keyway in it, turned down a piece of stainless, cut a keyway in that, and fits in there like that. I've got the spring off of the quill, the pinion, and I've measured the shaft with a micrometer, and it's 708.2. Yeah, 708.2. So I'm going to shoot for an ID of 710, which ought to be fine. And what's going to happen here is this is going to slide over this. This hole right here is for the pin that you know, anchors the spring to the shaft. So what I'm going to do is cut my piece to fit this with a slot in it that will go around this pin, and that will lock it to the shaft. And then what I'm going to do is there's a hole in the end here, 1/4 and I'm going to bore all the way down through the other end of the shaft to within like 1/4 inch of this, and then I'm going to get a bolt that goes down here and pulls this in here. And then the last thing I'm going to do is turn down the OD of the piece that we're going to cut, so that it is, right now I've got a 1-inch bar in there, and I still have to get it to fit around this spring. So I'm going to turn this down a little bit on the OD, and what that'll do is it'll create a step here which will hold this. You know, the OD will be bigger than this hole here, so it'll hold it up against there. So that's the plan, and I thought you guys would like to see how I size a hole. I mean, 710 is not a very standard drill that I have here. So what I'm going to do is bore it. And I'm going to use a snap gauge and a micrometer, and hopefully get this thing, so it's cooling off now. It was a little too hot before, so it's cooling off. I'm going to start boring it with my little boring bar and get it out to 710, and it's already drilled down 1.25 inches. So what I'll do, I mean, that's a little longer than what I need. I'll just trim the end off here so it's a good fit, you know, on the shaft over there. Okay? Alright, we're set up for boring here. I've got a depth stop set with a mic on the ways here. And got my speed set to 500. We're on center, and we'll take a test cut here. We'll touch off, we'll take a test cut, we'll measure it, and that'll tell us how far we have to go. So we'll just touch off. We'll come out, take a 10th cut here. And it would be good if we turn the feed on. Okay, I see the problem here. It's rubbing. So we will get a few things here. Let's try that. Let's see what happens here. Let's see how that does. Oh, much better. calibrated our measurements, we'll have to do it again. Okay, we're at 590. And we're going to take our final little measurement here. We're at 690. Alright, we should be really close now. Okay, we're at 700. We want to go to 710. So that would be 5,000. Jack in 4. We may have to make one spring pass here. Still okay temp wise. It's at 707. We will take a spring pass here put a little juice on it just to be nice. All right. That should be right at our target. $710.5. All right. So now we can take this out and try it on the. Actually, we're going to chamfer it. Let's try it on the mill. Oh yeah. Okay, I've got 3 drills here. They're all 1/4 inch. There's a stub length drill. There's a jobber length drill, and it won't make it all the way through. And then I have this for the final inch or so, and hopefully it'll follow the hole. So, yeah, we'll just get them in there and start boring. Start drilling. Okay. Alright, that's as far as we're going to go with this stub length, but hopefully it gave us a good start on the hole. Yep, this one looks good. When you're drilling deep holes like this, you want to take it easy. You don't want to force the drill in there in case the flutes aren't exactly the same length. You don't want it drilling off center. So just let it go, cut, do its own thing, feed it in, don't force it. There's plenty of oil. This drill is in here to about there. I'll peck drill it a little more, and then I think I'm going to turn it around and drill it from the other side and hope they meet in the middle. I'm not too comfortable with that long bit hanging way out there. Give me any accuracy, so hopefully they'll line up. Okay, what I've got in here now is a center drill on a little extension here, and we're going to go down in the bore and we're going to center drill it before we start drilling for real here. So here we go. Okay, we're not going to get too crazy with this because it's good. If we broke it off in there, it would be a freaking disaster. So now the stubby won't go down this bore, so we'll have to start with the jobber length drill here. Alright. Okay, we're drilling. I'm not forcing it, I'm just letting it go at its own cutting rate here. You don't want to put any lateral force on this drill. Alright, I'm going to throw the long one in there. I don't think we have too much more to go. Maybe a half inch or so. I think we're there. It's going through. Yep, we're through. All right. It's hot. We'll let it cool off. All right, so what I'm going to do now is turn this thing around again and start drilling a clearance hole for an Allen head bolt down to, I don't know, within a half inch or so. We could have a little shoulder there for the bolt to tighten up on. So let me look through my stash of nuts and bolts here and find a suitable victim for this project. Okay, I determined that we want to go in 3.5 inches and use a W size bit. So that's what we're going to do. We got a stubby in here. And then we got the jobber, and that's what we got to do. So let's jack this speed down a little. How's that looking? Okay, we put the long one in, and we'll start measuring depth here. Okay. 3.5 inches from here. Okay, that should be 3.5 right there. Okay, we gotta cut, where are we here? We gotta cut this back 1.25 inches so that it fits through this hole. So we'll measure that stuff up and get her going here. Okay, that should fit. Beauty. Alright, I think we're ready to try this as far as our cuts go. We're going to still have to put that slot in here, but well, we should chamfer this too. Okay, we got this bit set up and centered. I'm going to make a little cut here. Okay, this piece is complete, ready to go in the machine permanently, and it came out great. So what I got to do now, I've threaded the end of this 7/16 20. I'm going to make a little cap for it. Okay, alright, so here's how this thing goes together. We've got our spring hooked on the little screw in there, And then what you do is shove this in there and turn it around till it gets on there. Okay, it's on there. Now what you do is pull this out a little bit. Start tensioning this. I think 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's my typical setting for that. Okay, and then this Allen bolt goes in. Okay, so shove this up in here and tighten this up. Okay. I was smart enough to make it so that the key's on the top, so I don't have to go crazy putting it in there. There you go. So we'll make a washer and a bolt for that thing and she'll be good. You shift this into neutral. And now we have quill control. Cool. Alright, a couple more little pieces to make, we'll be done. Okay, I just made a bolt. I didn't have a 7/8 20, so I had to make one out of a 1/2 inch. But that fits in there. And then I figured, why not use some of that aluminum that I cast up? So I got the piece in here, and it looks pretty good. So I'm going to turn that little disc out of this. Okay, it's done. This little fastening disc here was cut out of that piece of cast that I made last week. So, yeah, man, recycled aluminum. That's the worm gear. Got neutral. And then power feed. Cool, huh? Alright, that's it. I think I'm done modifying this thing for a while now.